Now, if you say you are a pastor's wife and you've got nothing to do with your husband or your husband's calling, then I will question you being a wife. You see, when you are a wife, already that's a calling. You're called to be an assistant to that man, because that's how God has created it to be. He created a wife to be a suitable helper to the partner. So God has already instituted it to be like that. He has already put it to be like that. So if when now you are saying that you are a pastor's wife, but you've got nothing to do with your husband's calling and ministry, it means then that you are telling God that he was crazy when he said that a wife would be the helper of the man. Now, that being said, when you are a pastor's wife, it does not mean that you are now the co-pastor automatically. Understand me? So there are pastors' wives, because now we are in this um, maybe young generation whereby we are fighting oppression, and we are fighting people ideologies being imposed upon us. I see many pastors' wives, coming up, and I am happy that we're coming out and we want the liberty and everything like that. But I want to make it clear that you cannot be able to separate your calling as a pastor's wife from your calling as a wife. Some will say, my husband is just, he's a pastor, he's the one who's called, let him do that work. Okay, no problem. Assuming your husband was a doctor. So in your life, were you going to become detached to his calling so much that whenever he goes to the clinic, you will not make sure that things that he needs are in order? Were you not going to be worried if the surgery is already paid? Is it running well? Are there equipments needed? Are there resources that are needed? Like, I'm asking you an honest question. So if you know that you are going to be concerned about his patient, maybe he's stressed, there's a patient that is not getting healed, and or maybe there is a patient that they are failing to pay the bills because they're struggling in the house. Were you not going to be concerned? Were you not going to take part as a wife in his in his concerns, and try to make situation to be fine for him, and give him advice on how maybe he can deal with some situations? So if you are surely going to help your husband who is a doctor, surely you should help your husband who is a pastor. Now, what we need to understand as pastors' wives is that all other jobs or all other gifts that a husband may be called to, this one is different, because whether you like it or not, you are also a worker in this company. You are also a worker in this company. Ministry is like a hospital. If your husband is a doctor, surely, whether your husband is a doctor or your husband is a cleaner or your husband is a what, you yourself, you are also a worker inside this hospital. Why? Because you are born again, unless if you are not yet born again. But if you are a born again woman, surely understand, if your husband is the CEO in the big offices, understand that you yourself, maybe you are somewhere there channelaring the yard. You maybe you may be the security there, you know. So what do I mean? Already inside the kingdom of God, as a believer, you've got a work, and your work is to make disciples. Just Christ give us this command. He said that go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in his name. So that work was not given to pastors who are ordained. That work was given to believers who became born again. So if you are a pastor's wife and you've been neglecting to do your own part because you are telling yourself that you are not called, good morning, Dad. You are not called. Your husband is the one who's just called there. Please, I'm asking you and I'm begging you in the name of God that today, mommy, please, I'm recording. I'm asking you that please today go back to your own personal assignment. Once you understand your personal assignment, you will know where do you fit in to help your husband. If maybe in the kingdom of God, you are good at channelaring, in the hospital, you are good at channelaring and cleaning, then if your husband is now the CEO of the hospital, make sure that you help him to channel his office. Like, if you are good as maybe as a giver, what you can assist your husband with in the church is, create a way whereby, the church can be a place of giving, maybe to the poor or to whoever, according to how the Spirit of the Lord will lead you. If you are good in maybe you are good in teaching, look for ways inside the church whereby you can create a space, to be able to teach things that God has put within you. And let me tell you this, it may not be necessary for you to work within the church buildings. You can also work outside the church building, but your work primarily is to assist your husband. Now, directly and indirectly, you are hired in the kingdom of God. So if you say, okay, you are not assisting your husband, all right, fine. But what is your own role? What is your own responsibility within the kingdom of God as a believer, as a born-again child of God?